Why is it that we try multiple caloric restriction diets and always end up gaining the weight back? Is a daily exercise routine enough to reduce weight? So I tried multiple diets and I always kept on increasing my weight. So how come now at age 67 I am fit and healthy? At age 53 I started my OMAD regimen. Not only did I adapt to it with relative ease, I am still doing it today, 14 years later. Best of all, I am doing an intense HIIT routine plus hiking or tennis every day. In this video, I'd like to show you how you too can choose OMAD over caloric restriction.
Hi, my name is Juan Sarmiento. Since my 20s, I have been doing caloric restriction diets on and off. In preparation for my own wedding, I lost 10 kilograms, but after that, I returned to my old ways and eventually gained the weight again. 16 years later, I was obese and getting worse. By 2009, I weighed 103 kilograms and I was obese with a BMI above 33%. I could only muster enough energy to take a walk of 45 minutes, and I hated it. In this video, I will discuss a hormonal secret that allowed me to change my life, from a repeating dieter to a fit, slim man in my 50s and 60s. Please take a moment to subscribe to this channel and give a like to this video. Then click on the bell to receive a notification of my videos to come. With OMAD, we gain control over a few very important metabolic changes. 1. A reduction in insulin, the energy storage hormone. 2. A time limitation over Ghrelin, the hunger hormone. 3. An increase in growth hormone. And 4. The triggering of norepinephrine, the fight and flight hormone. I have covered insulin, Ghrelin, and growth hormone before. But what is this norepinephrine? With it, we find energy we didn't know we had within us. We can have a burst of energy when we need it unexpectedly. Critically, it increases our metabolic rate. With caloric restriction dieting, we reduce our resting metabolic rate. Surely, you must have noticed that with caloric restriction dieting, you seem to have even less motivation to exercise. Yet, doctors, nutritionists, and your spouse might tell you that you need to have more discipline and exercise more. Athletes eat diets that are rich, not low, in calories. Yet, if you are obese, you are convinced, or you are told, that you need portion control and increase your exercise routine. Doing this may reduce your weight, but it is not a permanent solution and you know it. In fact, you find it harder and harder to maintain your weight. This is the story of the Biggest Loser contestants. During the show, they were highly motivated to lose weight. After all, there was a lot of money and their own self-esteem on the line. Later, they gained the weight back because their resting metabolic rate was lowered and could not be brought up. So, what is this resting metabolic rate? Is the amount of energy your body uses to perform its basic functions. The liver detoxifies your blood, the lungs intake oxygen, the kidneys filter out unneeded metabolites, the heart pumps your blood, etc. You get my point. These are functions that need energy, whether you exercise or not. If we eat 3 meals a day, we adapted to acquire that energy by eating. If we consume more energy than we use, we store it as body fat. Once stored, we never seem to use that energy again. If we eat less, our bodies would rather reduce our resting metabolic rate rather than use our own body fat for energy. We must be doing something wrong. Yes, indeed, we are. Clearly, if we store energy in our body fat, it's like saving money for a rainy day. If you are responsible with your money, you'd rather cut expenses rather than take money from your savings account. But what if you had a large savings account? Why wouldn't you use that money until your situation improved? Similarly, we can tap into our own body fat, but the caloric restriction diets make it nearly impossible. Even if you lost weight initially, you'd eventually revert to your old ways. The resting metabolic rate is set at a lower point, so either you eat less or exercise more just to maintain your current weight. It turns out that with intermittent fasting and OMAD in particular, you get an increase in your resting metabolic rate. Yes, I did say an increase. Within a few weeks, your body learns to tap into the energy stored in your body fat. This is an amazing discovery made 24 years ago, yet we don't discuss it much. Back then, a few hours of fasting, 84 in this study, was called early starvation. Yet, with it came an increase in plasma norepinephrine, triggered by a decline in serum glucose. This may be the initial signal for the metabolic changes seen in what we now call the metabolic switch. Even before insulin changed, individuals in this study had increased their resting metabolic rate, lipolysis, and ketogenesis. In essence, we change our dietary glucose for our own body fat-generated ketones as a source of energy. In my own experience, only days after I started my OMAD, I seemed to have a greater desire to exercise. At first, I felt the need and desire to increase my walking time. But soon I switched to the more energy-demanding resistance training. You may be one of those that feel that fasting is too hard and exercise has always been difficult. Now, let me propose an experiment. Before changing anything in your diet and while still in 3 meals a day, do not cut your calories any further. Begin your exercise routine early in the morning, before any food intake. You may take a cup of black coffee without sugar or cream. Do your regular exercise routine for a week. By the second week, increase the duration or intensity of your exercise. Make sure that any changes in the weeks ahead can be easily quantified and require more energy. If the science is correct, you will trigger norepinephrine after the relatively short overnight fasting. Back in the 1980s, I began to exercise before going to work. I was running for 1 hour, something I had never done before. But I didn't understand why I could do it. Quite simply, in the fasted state of 12 hours or so, we are triggering the fight or flight hormone norepinephrine. And that should be our first step on the road to the metabolic switch. Back in the 1980s, I was in the road to health and I didn't even know it. I changed to a more demanding job and have to move to another city in a hilly area. So I quit my running and went back to my old ways. Exercise after getting home from work is probably very difficult for you too. You may be hungry after a long day and you eat before going for a walk. This is the worst time to do any serious exercise. Even now, after my one meal, I feel like taking it easy. At the most, after eating, I will do a leisurely walk. This is because we enter an anabolic phase and our bodies do not want to use more energy.
In ketosis or in deep fasting, our metabolic rate increases. This is an adaptation to our hunter-gatherer past when fasting resulted in sharpened minds and better performing bodies. You can use this adaptation to trigger the metabolic switch and change your life just like I did. You do have the genes, the hormones, and the means to become fit and sharp. Forget about your previous experiences because life is looking up. Thank you.